They say you never really know someone until you see them at their worst. But what if their worst reveals a secret that unravels everything you thought you knew about the person you're about to marry? I'm standing in my future mother-in-law's kitchen right now, my fingers still wrapped around her wrist, and I can feel both our hearts racing. The champagne flutes she'd set out for our bonding brunch are forgotten on the marble counter. The mimosas have gone flat, and the bracelet, my bracelet, is catching the morning light on her arm like a silent confession. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up to 3 days ago, when I still thought I was the luckiest woman alive. The proposal had been perfect. Too perfect, actually, like something out of a movie I couldn't afford a ticket to. Marcus had rented out the rooftop of the Belmont Hotel, strung fairy lights across the entire terrace, and somehow convinced a string quartet to play our song while he got down on one knee. "Elena," he'd said, his voice cracking in that way that made him seem vulnerable despite his 6'2" frame and executive demeanor. "You're the only person who's ever made me feel like myself. Will you marry me?" Through happy tears, I'd said yes, and that's when he pulled out the second box. "This was supposed to be for our anniversary," Marcus explained, fastening the delicate gold bracelet around my wrist. "But I couldn't wait. It's a family heirloom. Every woman who marries into the Ashford family receives one." The bracelet was stunning. Antique gold with 3 small sapphires set in an intricate filigree pattern. It felt like history, like belonging, like finally being chosen for something precious. "It's been in your family for generations?" I'd asked, mesmerized by how it caught the light. "My grandmother's," he'd confirmed. "Then my mother's. And now yours." I'd kissed him then, tasting champagne and promises and a future I'd barely dared to dream of. Coming from my background, daughter of a single mom who cleaned houses, who'd worked 3 jobs to put myself through state college, this felt like crossing into another world entirely. Marcus came from old money, the kind of family that had wings of hospitals named after them and appeared in the society pages. His mother, Vivienne Ashford, was the kind of woman who wore pearls to breakfast and knew everyone worth knowing. And somehow, miraculously, she'd seemed to approve of me. "Elena, darling," she'd said at our first meeting, taking my hands in hers with what felt like genuine warmth. "Marcus has told me so much about you. I can already tell you're exactly what this family needs. Someone real, someone grounded." I'd been so relieved. Every movie, every TV show, every piece of advice from married friends had warned me about the mother-in-law situation. But Vivienne had been nothing but kind. Until 3 days after the engagement, when she invited me to brunch. "Just us girls," Vivienne had said over the phone, her cultured voice smooth as silk. "We have so much to discuss about the wedding, and I'd love to get to know my future daughter-in-law better." I'd arrived at her Beacon Hill brownstone at exactly 11, wearing the dress Marcus had helped me pick out, tasteful, expensive, not quite me, but appropriate for an Ashford brunch. The November air was crisp, and brown leaves skittered across the pristine sidewalk leading to her door. Vivienne answered in a cashmere twin set that probably cost more than my monthly rent. "Elena, come in, come in. I've made my famous French toast." "Well, Mrs. Chen made it, but from my recipe," she laughed, that tinkling sound I'd heard at countless charity galas Marcus had brought me to. The house smelled like cinnamon and old money, that particular scent of antique furniture, fresh flowers, and expensive candles. Family portraits lined the hallway, generations of Ashfords staring down with the same sharp blue eyes Marcus had inherited. We made small talk through the first course. She asked about my work at the nonprofit, managing grants for underprivileged youth programs. She complimented my dress. She poured mimosas with a practiced hand. "You know," Vivienne said, setting down her crystal glass, "I wanted to talk to you about something important." My stomach tightened. Here it comes, I thought. "The real reason for this brunch. Marcus is my only child," she continued. "My entire world, really, since his father passed. And I need to know that whoever marries him understands what that means." "Of course," I said carefully. "I love Marcus. I would never do anything to hurt him." "I'm sure you believe that." Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "But love is one thing, Elena. Understanding your place is another." The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. "My place. The Ashford family has a certain standing, certain expectations." She stood, walking to the window that overlooked her manicured garden. "I've worked very hard to maintain our reputation, our connections, our way of life. We can't have that disrupted by someone who doesn't understand how these things work." I set down my fork, my appetite gone. "What exactly are you saying?" I'm saying that girls like you. She turned to face me, and her expression had transformed into something cold and sharp. Girls from your background tend to have certain motivations when pursuing men like Marcus. The words hit me like a slap. Excuse me? Oh, don't play naive. It's quite tiresome. She walked back to the table, standing over me now. You think I don't know what this is? A struggling non-profit worker, barely scraping by, suddenly swept off her feet by a wealthy man? It's the oldest story in the book. That's not Marcus and I. Marcus is blinded by infatuation, she cut me off. He doesn't see what I see. A gold digger who got lucky. I stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood. You don't know anything about me or what Marcus and I have. Don't I? Her voice was ice now. I know you come from nothing. I know your mother cleans houses for people like us. I know you've spent your entire life looking up at this world from the outside, and now you think you found your way in. My hands were shaking. Marcus loves me, and I love him. Our relationship has nothing to do with money. Then prove it. She stepped closer, her perfume overwhelming. Walk away. Break off the engagement. If you truly love my son, you'll realize you're not good enough for him and step aside before you ruin his life. That's when something inside me snapped. All the insecurity I'd been fighting since Marcus and I started dating, all the times I'd felt out of place at his world's fancy dinners and charity galas, all the quiet moments I'd wondered if I really belonged, it crystallized into pure, defiant anger. No, I said simply. Her eyes widened. Clearly, no one said no to Vivienne Ashford. I beg your pardon? I said no. I'm not walking away from Marcus. We love each other, and your classist, elitist attitude doesn't change that. That's when her hand flew up. I'd like to say my reflexes came from some self-defense class or martial arts training. Truth was, it was pure instinct. The same instinct that had helped me survive growing up in a rough neighborhood, that had taught me to see a threat coming. My hand shot up and caught her wrist mid-arc, stopping her palm inches from my face. Time seemed to freeze. We stood there, locked in position, her eyes wide with shock that I'd dared to touch her, my heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. And that's when I saw it. The bracelet. My bracelet. The same delicate gold band, the same 3 sapphires in the same intricate filigree pattern. The family heirloom Marcus had given me just 3 days ago. The one that was supposed to be unique. The one that symbolized my acceptance into the Ashford family. It was on Vivienne's wrist, but mine was at home, sitting in its velvet box on my dresser, because I was too afraid of damaging it to wear it every day. Where did you get that? The words came out as barely a whisper. She jerked her wrist free, her face flushing. For the first time since I'd met her, Vivienne Ashford looked flustered. Get what? The bracelet. That's the same bracelet Marcus gave me. Don't be ridiculous. This is my bracelet. I've had it for years. Numb. I stepped closer, studying it. That's the exact same design. The same sapphires. Marcus said it was one of a kind, a family heirloom. Something flickered across her face. Panic, maybe, or calculation. You're confused. The stress of the engagement. I'm not confused. My mind was racing now, pieces clicking together. He said it was his grandmother's, then yours. But you're wearing one identical to mine. Which means either there are 2, or what? Her voice was sharp again, defensive. Or one of them isn't real. The silence that followed was deafening. Vivienne's perfectly composed mask cracked, just for a second, but it was enough. I saw guilt flash across her face before she shuddered it away. I think you should leave, she said coldly. Not until you tell me the truth. Did Marcus give me a fake heirloom? This conversation is over. Did he lie to me? My voice was rising now. Or did you do something to the real one? Why do you have it if he gave it to me? Get out. The scream was so sudden, so raw, that I actually flinched. This wasn't the cultured society woman anymore. This was something primal and desperate. Get out of my house right now, or I'll call the police and tell them you attacked me. My hand was still red from where I'd caught her wrist, but her threat landed like another blow. Who would the police believe? The respected Ashford matriarch or the non-profit worker from the wrong side of town? I grabbed my purse and walked to the door, my legs somehow steady despite the earthquake happening inside my chest. But at the threshold, I turned back. I'm going to find out the truth, I said. And when I do, Marcus will know exactly what kind of person his mother really is. I didn't wait for her response. I walked out into the November sunshine, my mind reeling. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, just breathing, trying to process what had happened. My future mother-in-law had tried to slap me. She'd called me a gold digger, and she was wearing a bracelet that should have been unique to me. I pulled out my phone and called the one person I knew I could trust. Marcus? Are you busy? Never too busy for my fiancé. I could hear the smile in his voice, and it made my heart ache. How's brunch with Mom going? Actually, I left early. Can you meet me? There's something we need to talk about. The concern in his voice was immediate. What's wrong? Did something happen? Can you meet me at Cafe Nero? The one near your office? I'll be there in 15 minutes. I hung up and stared at my phone. Should I tell him everything? That his mother had tried to hit me? That she'd called me a gold digger? That would create an impossible situation for him. But the bracelet, that was different. That was a concrete mystery I could solve. I pulled up Google on my phone and started searching. Ashford family heirlooms. Victorian gold sapphire bracelets. How to tell real antique jewelry from reproductions. An hour later, I was in the reference section of the Boston Public Library, surrounded by books on antique jewelry and family histories. Marcus had agreed to meet me later. An emergency meeting had come up at work, which gave me time. Time to become an amateur detective. What I learned was fascinating. The Ashford family did have a tradition of passing down jewelry to new brides. But according to a Society column from 1987, Marcus's grandmother's bracelet had been sold at auction to cover estate taxes after she died. Sold, not passed down. So where had Marcus gotten the bracelet he gave me? I pulled out my phone and carefully photographed every mention of the Ashford family jewelry I could find. Then I did something that felt like crossing a line but also felt necessary. I called Lisa, Marcus's cousin, whom I'd met at a family gathering last month. Alina. Congratulations again on the engagement. Thanks, Lisa. Hey, I have kind of a weird question. Do you know anything about Ashford family heirlooms? Specifically jewelry? There was a pause. Why do you ask? Marcus gave me this beautiful antique bracelet and said it was his grandmother's. I just wanted to know more about the history. Another pause, longer this time. Elena, I don't know how to tell you this, but grandmother's jewelry was all sold years ago. The family needed money after the market crash in '87. Uncle Richard, Marcus's dad, he lost almost everything. My heart sank. Are you sure? Positive. My mom was furious about it at the time. She'd been promised her mother's pearls, but everything went to auction. There was a big family fight. I'm surprised Marcus didn't mention it. I thanked her and hung up, my mind spinning. So the bracelet Marcus gave me couldn't be his grandmother's original, which meant either he'd bought a reproduction or something else was going on. I texted Marcus, "Can you come over tonight? We really need to talk." His response came immediately. Of course, 7 p.m., I'll bring dinner. I spent the rest of the afternoon in a fog of anxiety and confusion. When I got home, I went straight to my dresser and pulled out the velvet box. The bracelet gleamed innocently in its satin bed. I took it out, examining it closely under my desk lamp. The gold looked authentic, the sapphires real. But I wasn't a jeweler. I needed an expert. The jewelry appraiser's office was small and cluttered, walls lined with cases of estate pieces and antique watches. Mr. Chen adjusted his magnifying glasses as he examined my bracelet under a bright light. Interesting piece, he murmured. Late Victorian style, though. Though what? He looked up at me over the glasses. The craftsmanship is modern. Very good, mind you, but modern. I'd say this was made within the last 5 years, designed to look antique. My stomach dropped. So it's a fake? Not a fake, exactly. The gold is real. The sapphires are real. But it's a reproduction, not an actual Victorian piece. Someone commissioned this to look like an antique heirloom. How much would something like this cost to have made? Maybe $3,000–4,000. It's quality work. I thanked him and left, my mind reeling. Marcus had spent thousands of dollars to have a fake heirloom made. But why? And why was his mother wearing what looked like an identical piece? Unless they weren't identical. I drove straight to Marcus's office, my heart pounding. His assistant tried to stop me, but I walked right past her into his corner office with its view of the harbor. Elena? Marcus stood up from behind his desk, surprise and pleasure on his face. This is a nice surprise. But I thought we were meeting at... I need you to be honest with me about something. His expression shifted to concern. Of course. What's wrong? I pulled the jewelry appraisal report from my purse and set it on his desk. The bracelet you gave me. It's not really your grandmother's, is it? He went pale. Marcus. Please. Just tell me the truth. He sank back into his chair, running his hands through his hair, a gesture I'd come to recognize as his tell when he was stressed. How did you? He sighed. Okay, you're right. It's not the original. Why did you lie to me? I didn't mean to lie. I mean, I did. But, he stood up, pacing to the window. The real bracelet was sold years ago when my dad got into financial trouble. My mom never forgave him for it. That bracelet meant everything to her. It was her connection to her mother, to the family legacy. So you had a replica made? I wanted to give you something special, something that connected you to my family history. I know how important that kind of tradition is, especially since. He trailed off. Since I don't have any family heirlooms of my own? The words came out bitter. That's not what I meant. He crossed to me, taking my hands. I just wanted you to feel like you belonged. Like you were truly part of the Ashford family. By lying to me, I know it was wrong. I'm sorry, but my intentions were good, Elena. I love you. I wanted you to have something beautiful, something meaningful. I pulled my hands away. Is that the only replica you had made? His face shuddered. What do you mean? Your mother. She's wearing an identical bracelet. She? What? No, she can't be. The original was sold. I saw it today, Marcus. At brunch. The same design, the same sapphires. Everything. He shook his head. That doesn't make sense. Unless, his eyes widened. Unless she had one made too. We stared at each other as the implications sank in. I need to talk to her, Marcus said, already reaching for his phone. I put my hand on his arm. There's something else you need to know about today. And then I told him everything. The insults, the accusations, the attempted slap. I watched his face transform from confusion to disbelief to barely contained rage. She tried to hit you? I caught her wrist before she could. That's when I saw the bracelet. I'm going over there right now. He was already grabbing his coat. Marcus, wait. Maybe we should think about this. No, no more thinking, no more waiting. My mother crossed a line today, and she's going to answer for it. We drove to Vivian's house in tense silence. I could see Marcus's jaw clenching and unclenching, his hands tight on the steering wheel. I'd never seen him this angry. Vivian answered the door in different clothes, a burgundy dress that screamed old money and control. Her composure faltered when she saw both of us standing there. Marcus, darling, what a surprise. I didn't know you were. We need to talk. Now. Something in his tone made her step back, letting us in. We followed her to the sitting room where she'd served me tea just last week, back when I'd still thought she liked me. Elena told me what happened today, Marcus said without preamble. Everything. Vivian's eyes flicked to me, cold and calculating. Did she now? And did she mention how she barged into my home and attacked me? I caught your wrist to stop you from slapping me, I said evenly. That's not attacking you. You dare to. Mom. Marcus's voice cut through the air like a knife. Stop. Just stop. Vivian blinked, clearly unused to being spoken to this way by her son. I know about the bracelet, Marcus continued. The real one was sold decades ago. I had a replica made for Elena. But she saw you wearing an identical one today. So either there are two reproductions, or, he trailed off, waiting for her to fill in the blank. Vivian's composure cracked. Just a little, but enough. Or you had one made too, Marcus finished. Didn't you? The silence stretched out, thick and suffocating. What if I did? Vivian finally said, lifting her chin defiantly. That bracelet belonged to my mother. It should have been mine to keep. Your father had no right to sell it. He was trying to save the family business, Marcus said. You know that. He was weak, she spat. Just like he was weak about everything. But I'm not weak, Marcus. I've spent 30 years building back everything he lost, maintaining our standing, protecting our name. And I will not let some gold-digging nobody destroy all of that. Don't you dare call her that. Marcus's voice was dangerously quiet now. Oh, please, open your eyes. She comes from nothing. Her mother is a cleaning woman. She saw an opportunity and she took it. Girls like her always do. Girls like me, I heard myself saying, work 3 jobs to put ourselves through college. We volunteer at nonprofits because we actually care about helping people, not just using charity galas to show off our diamonds. We don't judge people by their bank accounts or their last names. How noble, Vivian sneered. And yet here you are, about to marry into money and society. How very principled of you. I'm marrying Marcus because I love him, I said. Not his money, not his family name. Him. But you can't understand that, can you? Because to you, everything is a transaction. Everything is about image and control. That's enough, Marcus interjected. Mom, I need you to hear me very clearly. I love Elena. I'm going to marry her. And if you can't accept that, if you can't treat her with the respect she deserves, then you won't be part of our lives. Vivian's face went white. You can't mean that. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. Marcus, I'm your mother. Everything I've done for you, to protect you. To control me, he corrected. There's a difference, Mom. And I'm done with it. He took my hand, and we stood together, unified. I saw something flicker across Vivian's face. Loss, maybe, or the first hint of real fear. I think you should leave now, she said, her voice trembling. Both of you. Gladly, Marcus said. Come on, Elena. We walked to the door, but I paused at the threshold. Mrs. Ashford. I turned back to face her. I really did hope we could have a good relationship. I wanted you to like me, but I won't beg for your approval or compromise who I am to get it. The only person whose opinion matters to me is Marcus's, and he chose me. We left her standing there, alone in her perfect house with her reproduction bracelet and her wounded pride. 6 months later. The wedding was small. We'd originally planned a big society affair at the country club, but after everything that happened, we decided to do something different. We got married in the community center where I worked, surrounded by the kids from our youth programs and the volunteers who'd become like family to me. Marcus's cousin Lisa came, and a few of his real friends. My mom cried through the entire ceremony. Vivian wasn't there. Marcus had tried, one last time, to build a bridge. He'd gone to see her a week before the wedding, asked if she'd come, told her she could even wear her replica bracelet if she wanted. She'd refused, said she couldn't watch her son make such a terrible mistake. It hurt him. I could see it in his eyes whenever her absence came up. But he held my hand through it all and never once wavered. We were cutting our modest, homemade wedding cake when my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me check. It was a text message. From Vivian. The bracelet was my mother's. It was all I had left of her. I'm sorry for how I treated you. I'm not ready to forgive yet. But perhaps someday, perhaps. I showed it to Marcus. He read it twice, then kissed my forehead. It's a start, he said. Yeah, I agreed. It is. I never did wear the replica bracelet Marcus gave me. It felt tainted somehow, connected to too many lies and too much pain. Instead, for our wedding, my mom gave me a simple silver chain that had belonged to my grandmother, the woman who'd raised her alone, who'd worked as a seamstress and never owned anything made of gold in her life. It was the most precious thing I'd ever worn. As Marcus and I danced our first dance to a song played on someone's phone speaker, I caught sight of my reflection in the community center's window, in my simple white dress, with my grandmother's silver chain catching the light, surrounded by people who loved me for who I was, not what I could give them. And I realized something important. I'd been so worried about fitting into Marcus's world, about being good enough for the Ashford family. But the truth was, I'd already belonged somewhere much more valuable, to a world where people mattered more than appearances, where love was measured in sacrifice and support rather than carrots and pedigree. Vivian had called me a gold digger, accused me of wanting to climb the social ladder. But standing there in my $70 wedding dress, married to a man who'd chosen me over his mother's approval, wearing my immigrant grandmother's tarnished silver chain, I'd never felt richer in my life. Sometimes the most valuable heirlooms aren't the ones made of gold and sapphires. Sometimes they're the ones that teach you who you really are, and who you never want to become.